Now, three police officers who allegedly assaulted three journalists working with the Ghanaian Times newspaper have been interdicted. They are Inspector Isaac Opari of the Ministry's Divisional Police, Sergeant Ebenezer Krofi of the Accra Region Police Headquarters, and Corporal Evans Kofi in team of the Police Visibility Unit in Accra. The three are said to have been involved in the assault of Malik Suleiman, a court reporter, Raisa Sambu, a general reporter, and Salif Abdul Rahman, an assistant editor, after one of the officers allegedly used his unregistered motorbike to hit a vehicle belonging to the Ghanaian Times near the Kimbu traffic light in Accra on Thursday after allegedly jumping the traffic light. A statement signed by the Director General of Public Affairs of the Police Service, ASP David Eklu, said the Inspector General of Police, David Asante-Pietu, has also directed the Accra Region Officer to take over the investigation from the Ministry's police station. And I'll bring you the statement from the police. It says the Inspector General of Police has directed the immediate interdiction of the undermentioned police officers for their involvement in an alleged assault of journalists from the Ghanaian Times on March 14, 2019 in Accra. And it goes ahead to list the three officers. It goes on to say the Inspector General of Police has further directed the Accra Regional Crime Officer to take over the investigation of the case from the Ministry's police station. He has also instructed the commander of the Accra Central Motor Traffic Unit to take over the motor traffic accident aspect of the case. Both are to submit their report in 1 week. Additionally, the Police Professional and Standard Bureau has also been directed to look into the conduct of the police officers who were on duty at the Ministry's police station when the incident was reported. The public will be updated on progress of police action taking, and this is signed by Assistant Commissioner of Police David Eklu, and he's the Director General of the Public Affairs Department. Now, Information Minister Kojo Mponkrumah earlier insisted the police must investigate the issue swiftly and proceed to prosecute the officers involved.
In fact, even this morning I spoke to their editors that I still haven't received their formal complaint. Nonetheless, we have been in touch with the Interior Ministry and the Police Service. It is our understanding that they have already, I think, even taken statements, and they are proceeding to conduct their investigation in this matter. We continue to insist that the speed with which the persons who assaulted the police officer were quickly found and arrested and dealt with, that same speed should be applied in finding the officers who assaulted these persons. And for me, these are citizens. It's not even about the fact that they are journalists. These are citizens who were subjected to what appears to be undue force by police officers. It's important that that investigation is done with dispatch, so that it doesn't appear that when it is about the police, they are acting with dispatch, and when it's not about them, they are not. And I think we've made that point quite clear to our colleagues at Interior and to our colleagues at the police service.
Well, editor of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, David Agbenu, joins me on phone with their reaction to the interdiction of the three police officers. Thank you for making time to speak with us, Mr. Agbenu. Now, is this interdiction the kind of action you were hoping for in the interim?
Thank you. We welcome the interdiction. That was not exactly what we were looking forward to, but it's the beginning. So we welcome it, and we hope that the investigations will go deeper and the appropriate punishment meted out to the policemen.
What exactly were you looking for, or what were you hoping for?
It's a crime to attack another person, and these officers deliberately assaulted our tenants. And in such instance, they have to face the law, and the law must deal with them as it will to any other citizen of this country.
Now, there were a few more officers who were involved in all of this. We understand there were as many as 10 people. Three people have been interdicted. Were you hoping that maybe 10 people would have been interdicted?
Yeah, that was exactly what we were hoping for. There were more than 3, but I guess the police are still continuing with investigations, and in no time, all of them should be arrested, including the military officer who also joined in to beat them.
Now, what's the latest with the case itself? We just heard the Information Minister say that he had spoken with you, and earlier we were hearing that the complainant had not really filed his statement. Has that been done now?
All that has been done, including a report to the Minister of Information, Media Commission, and the GJA. We sent all those reports this afternoon. The minister should have it by now. And our reporters have also filed their statements with the police. We have reported the matter to the NPPU, and we are hoping that in no time, investigations will be concluded and these police officers will face the law.
Now, quickly before you go, is the Ghanaian Times contemplating a civil suit in addition to all that is going on right now?
Yes, that's on the table. We are discussing it, and at the appropriate time, we'll take steps to do what is needful.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Dave Agbenu. He's the editor of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Now, we're moving on to some other stories. Now, the Ghana cedi is making some giant strides in the last few days after weeks of decline. If you check the currency right now, it has been exchanged for the US dollar at 5.4, having dropped to as low as 5.80 to the dollar last week. The recovery is believed to have been fueled by fresh dollar injections by the central bank, amongst other measures. We'll be analyzing the state of the cedi in a bit and whether the recovery is sustainable. But earlier in the day, the minority in Parliament has been speaking on the fate of the Ghana cedi, and they believe that not much is being done. They believe that government has lost the plot as far as the management of the economy is concerned. Let's listen to what they have been saying at a news conference they held earlier today.
Look at the exchange rate, our balance of payment carefully, BOP carefully. We have two layers. The first layer is the balance of trade, and the second layer is the capital account. The balance of trade is where you see the import and the export. In the current account, the capital account is where you see the inflows and outflows of money, capital. Analyzing the BOP, you will know where exactly the problem is coming from. The problem that we are facing today, is largely because of portfolio investment that is leaving out of the country. You take the cocoa proceeds coming in, cocoa proceeds alone coming in. It is only enough to pay under this administration for rice, poultry, and tomatoes. So we are importing so much rice, so much poultry, chicken that we eat, and so much tomatoes into the country that whatever we get from cocoa proceeds can only be offset on that. So in a country like this, that's where the problem is. I also want to find out from His Excellency the President. He's been in office for 2 good years. What exactly has he done so far to change the structure of the economy, contrary to his promise? To change the structure, one district, one factory, and all that. They've done nothing. Starting from as of November 2018, Ghana's debt, external debt, okay, amounted to $18 billion. $18 billion. At the time, the exchange rate is not the same as today. So if at the time the exchange rate was 4.8, and today the exchange rate, as at today's value, we are looking at 5.6, and I've given you reference rates yesterday, 3:04 p.m., at the time we were doing the write-up.
Well, Minority MP on the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, says the economy is headed towards a crisis level because of the mismanagement and poor leadership.
Is that the economy is heading for crisis. If you continue this to 2020, it means that even the money to be borrowing will be consumed by just 3 or 4 items. And that is how scary our fiscal situation looks like. Unfortunately, in an attempt to deal with the banking sector, they've added, in fact, the total projection is that by 2019, the state would have spent 18 billion just to collapse banks. 18 billion. Can you imagine a country like us spending 18 billion to destroy our own financial sector?
Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association, Asaka Wingobit, has been backing the minorities' claim that the economy is on course for crisis.
Currently, if you go to the interbank level, you will see the rate being written there. But give them the fiscal cash that you want the dollar to go and do import, you will not get it. So it tells that if the ADB and Commercial Bank are talking about 5.65, it tells that the black market, it hits 6 cities. Yeah. So it's possible that you go to black market, you have to get the 6 cities. Because if you go and put your money to Commercial Bank, you won't get the dollar. That is it.
So some are buying it for 6 cities, exactly. Even around this time.
Good. So quite clearly, there is a very tall negative impact on the economy, on the ordinary consumers.
The minority says confidence in the Ghanaian economy has been lost and investors no longer have confidence in the economy, particularly because of the depreciation of the cedi. Do you agree that the confidence in the economy is gone?
Of course, yes. If you were investing at 4.8 and there is a 5 point something, are you not going to make losses in your returns? You are going to make losses quite clearly. And so the cedi has depreciated. So the point is that what is government doing to control the cedi depreciation?
Do you envisage that would end up affecting how much money others bring into our economy and virtually damage the business space generally?
Oh, I think as we speak, because of the cedi depreciation, anybody who has dollar will want to run here and change his money and make more money. You bring $100,000 you are a millionaire in Ghana.
And they are doing that at the expense of investing in real business ventures.
Absolutely. And because of the cedi depreciation is affecting importers who bring goods to the port and pay duty. The government is making so much quality, so much money. But the importer, at the end of the day, if you get to the market, can he be able to sell and go back and re-import again? You remember the government came, I heard what do you call it? I heard the finance minister says that he didn't increase any taxes in the country. It's a lie. It's a palpable lie. During Setekwe time, they were doing the same thing. It didn't take us anywhere. So at that time, we were talking of 3.7, and you are talking of 5.6. So it's not going to hold. The calabash is broken. You put water inside, it gets go down.
Minister Kojo Nkrumah has dismissed the minorities' predictions on the performance of the cedi, describing their news conference on Wednesday as too late in the day. Now, the minority at that news conference, they predicted that the cedi will hit 6 Ghana cedis by the end of the year, explaining that current interventions are not sustainable. But Kojo Nkrumah, the minister, urged the minority to stop speculating on the performance of the Ghana cedi in the interest of the country.
So they successfully issued $3 billion in a single transaction of 3 tranches. The government's consideration that this is a vote of confidence is founded on 3 major pillars. The first is that the nearly 7 times oversubscription of the Ghana request is evidence of the growing global confidence in Ghana's economic resilience. The global investor community has, by this oversubscription to this magnitude, signaled their faith in Ghana's new ability to churn out very strong returns on investments and consequently service our obligations. Additionally, it reflects a robust investor confidence in Ghana's future economic outlook. During the process, as I'm sure you have followed, bids submitted exceeded over $21 billion when we were looking for only $3 billion. You can compare that to the $8 billion in bids recorded in 2018, and it tells you how much appetite is growing for investments in Ghana's money market instruments. Now, at $21 billion, this is the highest ever order book for bonds issued in sub-Saharan Africa, and that's the first reason for which we consider this as a vote of confidence in Ghana's economic resurgence. The second is that such high success, coming at a time when Ghana is exiting the IMF ECF program, is evidence that the global investor community is confident that the managers of the economy are on an irreversible track of stability. This, we believe, is driven strongly by the Akufo-Addo administration's success at introducing, among other things, legislations such as the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the establishment of the Fiscal Council, and the establishment of the Financial Stability Council, all of these designed to anchor the regained status and remove the endemic risks to macro stability.
So there was the government talking about the successful $3 billion Euro bond, saying that it is a vote of confidence in the Ghanaian economy. But let's get on to the phone lines now and speak with Eric Osei-Sibe, an economist at the University of Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Osei-Sibe. Now, we have heard from the minority and we have heard from the government. So the minority is saying that we're in a crisis. Government is saying that the cedi is recovering. The point that has been made all this while is that if the fundamentals are weak, the currency would expose you. Is it the case that the currency is exposing the weak fundamentals of the economy?
Well, thank you, Israel, and good evening to your viewers. Well, I don't share that view at all, that what happened with the currency was as a result of weakness in the macroeconomic fundamentals. I don't share that view because it is quite clear that the macroeconomic fundamentals are quite robust. We have inflation that has fallen into single digits. We have interest rates that are on the decline. We have the fiscal deficit that is very low compared to what we have experienced in recent past. We also have, even within the trade balance, we have a surplus. And so I have said that what has happened has nothing to do really with the economic fundamentals. It has everything to do with the asset bubbles, returns on assets. That is a short-term determination of the exchange rate, which is often determined by the people's expectations about the future rate, future policy direction of government, capital outflows, and the repatriation of profits, and things like that. And so often these are some of the short-term movements, and in such situation you are likely to see a recovery. And I'm not surprised that we are beginning to see the cedi actually gaining strength again, because what happened really was quite unrelated to the fundamentals. If we were to be with the fundamentals, we were going to see a sustained level of depreciation because of the weakness in the economic structure.
Now, these shocks that you talk about, haven't they always existed?
Excuse me?
The shocks that you're talking about, short-term shocks. Yeah. And I'm asking, these short-term shocks that you're talking about, they've always existed within the Ghanaian economy?
Not exactly. It's very seasonal, and it's also fueled by people's sentiment, the market concerns. And one of the issues that precipitated these expectations was actually the announcement that IMF was going to exist. I mean, the market was quite apprehensive. They were concerned about the future policy direction of government. And so they were quite unsure what was going to happen. And that actually led to some amount of capital outflows, some amount of huge profit repatriation from Ghana. And the central banks also, tend to also worsen the situation quite a bit by reducing the monetary policy rate, which reduced the returns significantly on government bonds and thereabout, because that was a time where we have very tighter monetary policy in the global economy. So there was some amount of capital outflow, and the expectation, the market actually capitalized on these issues, and there was some speculative as people started holding the currency, trading in the currency in the hope that they will make huge returns as the cedi continues to depreciate. And all of these are short-term measures. So with very little changes, even with announcement that the government has been successful
with the Eurobond,
raising the Eurobond, and then the IMF, successfully ending the program, would go a long way to further strengthen the currency, because that is how the short-term movement of the currency is. So it depends on the season and what is actually happening. Of course, the fundamentals are very important. The structure of the economy, the productive structures are all very important. But as far as I'm concerned, what happened in recent times has very much to do with the short-term movement, short-run movement of the exchange rate.
Now, one of the major fundamental issues we are having to deal with, and which the president alluded to, has to do with the heavy import bill. If we're importing so much into the economy, then clearly it's one of the fundamental challenges that we're having to face with, having to be faced with. How do we deal with this? And doesn't it mean that whatever recovery we're seeing is just something that is unsustainable?
Yes, I mean, that is very fundamental. You are very right, because until we are able to reverse that kind of imbalance, we are always going to have very vulnerable situations to some of these short-term movements and shocks to the economy. If you have enough exports, of course, as you're talking about imports, then you're also talking about exports. If you're able to export more and bring in more revenue, you're able to build your external reserves in a sense. When there's this shock, these high expectations and demand pressures, the central bank is able to intervene in the market to ensure that it supplies the needed excess demand to make things sure that the cedi doesn't depreciate that fast. And so we really, as a country, have to begin to look at how do we reduce people's preference for imported products as against products that are made in Ghana. How do we reduce our importing almost everything that we use as a country, and then also ensuring that we export more, because I said that we can export more. We don't even have to worry so much about imports. If we can increase our production, increase productivity, and ensure that we be competitive and able to penetrate into the global value chain, we always have enough earnings, foreign currency earnings, to import whatever we want to import.
All right, Prof.
Then we need to begin to look at import substitution, industrialization, where we try to produce the things that we are used to importing, and so that we can gradually shift away from the huge imports. But I said that what happened in recent times is not really about we importing more. That is what
now, Prof, it still brings us to the fundamental issue, which has to do with the fact that we're importing so much. And because we're importing so much, we're unable to control the currency. We've lost control, really, of the currency. But one final question I want to put to you: how much analysis has been done regarding the recent bank collapse and the fact that people don't feel that confident enough to invest in the banking sector, and so they're rather turning or moving their funds into Forex?
I rather think that should be the opposite. That should rather be the opposite, because what happened was actually to assure the market that the banking sector is now solid, is now well capitalized and sound, and therefore investors, confidence should go up and begin to invest in the banking sector.
But it could also be, Prof, that they are not convinced. They are not convinced yet.
Well, there's of course there could be a possibility, but this market often reacts very quickly. It would have been worse when the collapse started and when we didn't really know what the central bank was going to do. At that material moment, it should have been worse. But if we're able to weather the storm at the time and have come to this far, I really think that it might not be playing that big role in the current situation. Like I said, what happened is very seasonal. At the beginning of the year, you see these high demand pressures because we have huge multinational corporations which only generate revenue in cedis, yet they have shareholders and their creditors living outside, and therefore they have to demand a dollar to bring this amount of money, huge amount of money to them at the beginning of every year. And it was also aggravated by the announcement of the IMF exiting and a host of other issues that also triggered capital outflows and bond offloading and that kind of thing. So, but we are seeing a reversal, and I think that it might even go further down given the market conditions as of now.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Eric Osei-Sibe. He's an economist with the University of Ghana. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. In Treponi, students of the senior high school, they are appealing to be allowed to go home, as they say the conflict there has affected teaching and learning. Now, where some teachers have deserted schools following the renewed clash between the Konkombas and the Chikoses that has left 3 people dead and displaced more than 1,000. Police have sent reinforcement to the area, which they say remains volatile. According to some students of the Treponi Technical SHS, although there was a directive by the Ghana Education Service for them to remain on campus, many of their teachers have left due to tension in the area. Some of them who masked up at the Treponi police station earlier on Wednesday say they want to be allowed to go home. It's been 5 days since fighting between the Chokoses and Konkombas in some parts of the district began. The Public Relations Officer of the Northern Region Police Command, DSP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko, joins us for the latest update. Thank you very much, DSP Tanko. Now, some students are expressing fear about because of the fighting that's ongoing. How secured is the Treponi SHS?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers as well. Yeah, this morning it was reported that the students marched up at the police station protesting to be allowed to go home for security reasons. And the previous day there had been a meeting and stakeholders had agreed that they remained in school and continue with teaching and learning. Today they were prevailed upon and they have agreed to go back to school and continue with their studies. And so we have also assured the school that we will give them some protection so that the students will feel at home and be able to concentrate on their learning. So as we speak, the children have returned to the school and school is in session.
All right, so none of the students were allowed to go home. Is that the case?
Yes, because there wasn't the need for any of them to go home. They were citing security concerns, but reassured and told to remain in school and the necessary security will be provided. And they agreed. They themselves came to the realization that it was not prudent for them to leave school and go home, since it will disrupt their academic activity and it will have a toll on them at the end of their education. So they agreed and now they are in school, and we are also very happy to provide them with this needed security at school.
All right. Now, earlier you talked about the challenge with vehicles to patrol Treponi. Has that challenge been resolved now?
Yeah, it was resolved. Yesterday we received men from Accra and they came with some vehicles. And so the district commander on the ground is saying that now he has the needed vehicles to be able to patrol everywhere that he wants to go. And so those have been dealt with now. So we are on the ground and we are trying very much to ensure that we bring the situation under control. So far, so good. Our strategies have worked. Today, we haven't heard anything. Mostly the activities are nocturnal. This evening, there will be deployment to go around to ensure that any person who would like to perpetrate any crime, especially the burnings, is barred from doing that. So let's see what will happen come by tomorrow morning.
All right, thank you very much. DSP Yusuf Tanko is the Northern Region Police PRO. Now, NADMO has established 3 camps for the internally displaced people. We're joined on the line by the Northern Region NADMO coordinator, Alhaji Hindu. Thank you very much, Alhaji. Now, how many people have visited the camps that you have created?
Hello.
Yes, Alhaji, I would want you to update us as far as the relief efforts are concerned.
I talked about the number of people who have registered so far.
Yes, as far as the relief situation is concerned, I know you have been distributing relief.
Yeah. The reason why we delayed about the relief items was nothing but, this war started somewhere January, 8 months today. and then we stopped. So we're working to send relief items when this also fighting also started. So we have to wait until maybe we get the number of victims that have been affected, those who have lost their houses, those who cannot maybe go back to their places. There are camps there. We camped them last 2 months. That's January. We have Bishibu, we have Bunkuru, and then Yuyu. They camps there. So we are still accommodating them there, feeding them with the district chief executives and national district directors over there. But when this thing happens on Friday, there is nothing we could do until we wait and see whether the number will increase or the number will not increase. So that we take the assessment and then update the headquarters as to whether the items will be added or what we have will be enough for those that we have counted so far. And that is why that has caused the release of the items standing there. And most of the point, as the fighting is going on, you find it very difficult to even share items. People are running faster here and there. How do you even stop them even to give them items? Maybe you train out the way maybe to somebody who is just a standby person that is giving away items. But if you are able to do the assessment very well, and then you have them accommodated, maybe you have, then you'll be able to assess the number of victims that you have, so that the relief items that you have, you'll be able to share with them so that everybody will have it. That is what we are doing. And today, God willing, since yesterday up to this morning, we are able to gather we have about 2,760 victims that we have recorded. So that at the 3 times that I'm talking of, that is Bunkuru, Yuyu, and Bishibu. So now we are loading the items. One vehicle has taken off, another vehicle we are loading now. When my brother called me, he heard the noise saying, put the buckets here, put the blankets here. So that is what we are doing now. Tomorrow, inshallah, God willing, by 9, 10 o'clock, Bunkuru and Bishibu will receive their relief items, and then we're working on Cherton. Because the reason why we cannot move to Cherton is that we didn't have a camp there. But we realized is people are staying in their, family houses. And so they are with their families, they are accommodated by the family. So you find it very difficult to get them at one place. So what we are doing now, we tasked the director over there with the zonal coordinators to go in and then have their names registered, so that by the close of tomorrow, if they are able to do the proper assessment, then we'll now have the figure, so that maybe Friday morning, yes, will be sent to them. But tomorrow, dear, those that are living in Bishibu and then Bunkuru and Yuyu will be served with their items.
All right. Thank you very much, Alhaji Hindu. Alhaji Hindu is the Northern Region NADMO coordinator. Still staying with this story, Interior Minister Ambrose Dare is calling on the leadership of the two feuding factions involved in the violence in the Tripoli district to help bring sustainable peace to the area. Speaking on the sidelines of an annual review meeting of the ministry and its agencies in Accra on Wednesday, he observed the growing suspicion amongst the two groups is fanning the conflict and must be nipped in the bud.
The situation in Tripoli is regrettable. Clearly, we are dealing with a situation where we need the leadership of the two groups, the Kokumba and the Anofos. We involved them in the committee. They were represented, and the committee has submitted its report. But clearly, we need, in the implementation and moving forward, for the leadership of both sides to educate their people on the ground on what transpired, because it's about land. And if it's about land, the law is clear. You go to due process. But it appears that there is suspicion. And the only way the suspicion can be handled effectively is, of course, apart from the police and soldiers being on the ground, which they are, that the leadership of both groups must step forward and make sure that our people live in peace. There is a certain level of suspicion, and that level of suspicion must be nipped in the bud. And that is the way we
On the campaign to disband party militias, he stated he's excited about the latest response from the NDC. He reiterated President Akufo-Addo's commitment to the process.
We heard that there was still some things about Ghanaian Times and whatever. Those are the things that we need to work on and address, because we are partners. We are not supposed to be fighting. If we are fighting, then hallelujah for the criminals. Then they are going to go and say, well, we would have more anonymity and we will have darkness to operate in. So I want to say the ministry that I'm in part, and I speak for the president as well, that we apologize for whatever my sector agencies might have had with you people, but it's not in our spirit. It's in the spirit of the president, as you know, to push the frontiers of free expression, and that's the only way we can progress as a nation.
Now, the Konkomba Youth Association of Accra is calling on government to take immediate steps to end the violence in the Tripoli area and get the needed humanitarian supplies for the nearly 2,000 people displaced as a result. The conflict is said to have affected people in the Saboba and Nyonyo Naswa districts as well. Spokesperson of the group, Isaac Poyon, says the military as well as the police must take the allegations of bias and killings in these districts seriously and act swiftly. Therefore, Evans Chenry reports.
More than 400 people have been displaced due to the conflict, and several houses have been burnt to ashes. 2 people have been confirmed dead from the renewed clashes. There's no food to eat and no water to drink for those who have fled fighting in their homes in the last 48 hours. Addressing the news conference, spokesperson for the Konkomba Youth, Isaac Foyon, says the National Disaster Management Organization, NATMO, and some other organizations must coordinate humanitarian support for the hundreds of youth who have lost their entire property.
We call on NADMO, Konkombas in and out of Ghana, humanitarian organizations, development partners, and all well-meaning Ghanaians to support Koye's drive to coordinate humanitarian support for the hundreds of people who have lost their entire properties, homes, farms, clothing, etc., especially the hundreds of women and children who have nothing to eat or drink or wear and have nowhere safe enough to lay their heads. Koya would like to reaffirm that Konkombas are peace-loving, hard-working people and are willing and ready to cooperate with the security agencies to bring back peace and peaceful coexistence in the Saboba, Tripoli, and Nyonyo Naswa districts.
Mr. Foyo called on both Konkombas and Chokosis to give peace a chance to enable them fight poverty and underdevelopment in these areas.
Asante Hino Otumfuo Secretary II is asking chiefs in his kingdom to give a candid assessment of his stewardship as he marks 20 years on the Golding Stool. Addressing a meeting of the Asanteman Council ahead of his anniversary Durbar later this year, he told the chiefs the feedback will serve as a guide for the future. Nana Ajima witnessed proceedings and filed this report.
On April 26, 1999, Barima Kwekudua, then 49-year-old, was installed the 16th Asantehene under the stool name Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II. He was seen as the return of Otumfuo Osei-Tutu I, founder of the modern Asante state. His coronation followed demise of his uncle Otumfuo Opokuwari II. Establishment of Otumfuo Educational Fund to support especially the less privileged was one of his early initiatives. Together with other internationally funded projects channeled through the Asantehene, it has changed the lives of many people in rural Ghana. The recent end to a 17-year-old Dagbon chieftaincy dispute crisis, culminating in the enscarement of a new Yana, is certainly one of Otumfuo's achievements. He led the committee of 3 eminent chiefs to fashion out a roadmap for peace. Now, Otumfuo believes it is time for his paramount chiefs, with whom he has been working, to assess him.
We will have to evaluate our performance as a traditional council. We will have to be truthful to ourselves, so I will know how to improve upon things moving forward. After 20 years, have we been able to secure anything from government for our people? Are we able to secure jobs for the youth? After these, we'll be able to know what to do moving forward. Government is supposed to ensure development. They are those taking taxes, but we have a part to play.
The anniversary will be held between 27th March and 27th of April, climaxing with the Deba once more to showcase the Asante's rich culture. On such a day of glamour, Otumfuo wants his chiefs to dress flamboyantly.
Every chiefdom is supposed to dress accordingly. You don't wear what you are not supposed to. We will not allow insubordination.
As part of activities, traditional Asante foods will be cooked and served at Menchia. Otumfuo Achiamehene Nana Nsua Sipoku gives a hint of some aspects.
Proper sanitation should be prioritized, especially ahead of the 20 years anniversary. Chiefs must lead frequent cleaning exercises even after the anniversary. The chairman will also keep you updated on the events lined up for the anniversary.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Now, touched by the story of a 7-year-old girl who has become paralyzed in the legs after she was knocked down by a motorbike, Member of Parliament for Agona East, Queen Star Mami Pokwa Soya, has donated a wheelchair and some other items to her. The girl, as a result of the accident, now has to drag herself on the floor if she wants to move and hasn't been able to enroll in school. The Agona West MP tells JoyNews she's hopeful the girl will start school very soon.
Sarah has no clue what the future holds for her daughter. She is worried and wonders how to manage the situation when Zuleha enters her puberty age and begins to menstruate.
She always tells me if she could walk, she wouldn't have been in her current state. So I should get her a wheelchair.
Zuleha's family hopes things will change for the better. For now, she'll have to endure this kind of situation.
Yeah, I love watching your news at 7 o'clock every day. So about some days ago, I was watching, then I saw this story, and there was this little girl about 7 years old, and she really was sick. She's sick, and the parents cannot afford, so they needed help. I thought I could help financially by giving them some money, but they ended the program and the girl spoke, and the only thing she wanted was a wheelchair so she could feel that she's not crawling. So I prayed over it, and as usual, to whom much is given, much is expected. I brought some things for her and the family. So I brought a wheelchair that she has really lasted for, and some provisions, rice, oil, and then and then 1,000 Ghana cedis to support her at least for a while, hoping that as time goes on, we'll be able to communicate with her. Then anything I have, I could support her.
Zuleha Fuseni smiles. Behind the smile, however, is a reality of 2 inactive legs as she lay slackly on the floor. Zuleha can neither stand nor walk.
We felt that you could assist and get it done, so we do appreciate it, and it will certainly get to her. We appreciate your gesture, and I'm sure she appreciates it too.
I know.
Okay. All right.
I'm grateful to you. Yeah. I'm sure you brought it out.
Yeah, this is a lovely one too. You can tell it's very sophisticated.
Because it's from me.
I'm sure she'd appreciate. That's it for Bulletin. I'm Israel Lai. Evans Mesa is up next with PM Express. Do stay tuned in. and have a good night.